Little Miss Wasteless. Little Miss Wasteless did not her name would suggest, like waste. She was not wasteful. For instance, she repaired the holes in her socks. She did not throw them away. She reused her carry bags of her shopping, but she didn't buy more than she needed, and she collected rainwater to her garden. Her motto was waste not, want not. In this way, little Mrs. Wasteless carried off the planted. This was because when she looked at the world around her, it gave her pause for thought. Walking to the beach, she saw the rubbish washed up on the shore. "Look at it all!" cried Mr. Worry. "Plastic cup and plastic bags and plastic bottles. So much plastics, here will it end?" Mr. Worry was worried. "You're right, Mr. Worry," agreed little Mrs. Wasteless. "Too much waste to need a waste less." Please subscribe for me doing this video. The next day, little Mrs. Wasteless went round to the Forgetful's house for tea. Mr. Forgetful had forgotten where he had put the tea, so little Mrs. Wasteless helped him hunt through his cupboards. But every cupboard she opened was filled with plastic carries everywhere. "Why do you have so many plastic bags?" asked little Mrs. Waste. "You should reuse them." "I would," said Mr. Forgetful sadly, "but I always forget to take them with me when I go shopping." The next morning, little Mrs. Wasteless was walking past little Mrs. Scatterbrain's house when what she saw stopped in her tracks. The mountain of rubbish outside little Miss Scatterbrain's back door. "I think I need some help with all this rubbish," said little Mrs. Scatterbrain, throwing. "I can't work out that I can recycle what I can't." "You certainly do need some help," said little Mrs. Wasteless. Come on, I'll give you a hand. And little Miss Gunterbrain took all the plastic and bottles and cardboard up a little Miss
Inventories.
Recycled machine. While she was there, she noticed Mr. Fussy at loading empty plastic bottle after emptying plastic bottles. Mr. Fussy got through an awful lot of laundry liquid. He was as you would imagine, very fussy about keeping these things clean. He washed the sheets every day. He washed his bath towel every day. He washed his tea towels every day. He washed his handkerchief every day. He even washed his shoelaces every day. Mr. Fussy's washing machine never stopped. That's a lot of plastic bottles, remarked little Mrs. Wasteless to little Mrs. Inventor. As Mr. Fussy loaded them in the recycle machine. It doesn't seem a bit crazy, said little Mrs. Inventor. We will recycle old bottles to make the new bottles when we already had a bottle in the first place. Little Miss Inventor's work kept running through. Little Mrs. Wasteless hid as she had supper that evening. Suddenly, as she was refilling her glass, she had an idea. The rather ingenious idea. And the very next day, she put her idea into action. She opened a shop where everyone could come and refill any of their empty bottles. When Mr. Fussy ran out of the laundry liquid, he could go and fill up his old bottle at little Mrs. Wasteless' shop. No need to buy a new one. No need to recycle an old one. And Mr. Fussy was a very good customer. All for little Mrs. Wasteless did have a word to him about how much washing he really needed to do. That's a very clear idea, said Mr. Clever idea, said Mr. Clever, and it was. Little Miss Sunshine filled her hand soap. Mr. Clam refilled his washing up liquid. Little Miss Tiddy refilled her surface cleaner. And little Mrs. Swoops filled her floor cleaner. Whoops! But there were some people who couldn't get to Little Mrs. Waste's shop. It was a very long walk to the shop for Little Miss Tinny's tiny legs. Little Miss Shy wouldn't get much, and little Mr. Lazy never got out of bed, and it is. So little Mrs. Wasteless expanded her idea. She asked little Mrs. Inventor to invent a refilling
delivery
bike. Everyone could order home refills by phone or on internet. Not that little Mrs. Waste visited little Mrs. Lazy very often. He might imagine he didn't use very much washing up liquid. But it was perfect for Mr. Forgetful. He had no longer had to worry about remembering carried bags when he went shopping. And little Mrs. Scantbrain had less to worry about when it came a sort of her recycling. It was all a terrific success. Everyone was reusing and refilling everything. However, not everyone quite got the idea. Yesterday, the phone rang in little Mrs. Waste's shop. I hear I can order a refill, said Mr. Greeding. Certainly, said little Mrs. Wasteless. What would you like to refill? I'd like, said little Mrs. Greeding, to fill my fridge. Hope you enjoyed the book. We hope you enjoyed learning about how to refill and reuse plastic. Hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe. And I would like to get 3 million subscribers.
Thank you.
The end. Thank you.